Let's quickly get an update on this story now. A group of residents have given some shops in Rosettenville, that's here in Johannesburg, 3 days to ensure their workforce is South African. The group is part of Operation Dudula, known for targeting undocumented migrants. Malu Boy is our senior reporter following this story. Malu, very good afternoon to you. Talk to us about what has been happening. You were following this story since very early on. It's important to also emphasize, Malungelo, that this could spark perhaps unintended consequences between South Africans and foreign nationals. How's the situation so far?
You're right. In fact, we are back at the sports field, or in this park here in Rosettenville. This is where the members of Operation Dudula are at the moment. Earlier on, they've been moving around this particular area, going to shops, wanting or demanding that those shops essentially employ 100% South Africans. They're saying that the shops that, in fact, they've targeted are actually notorious for employing undocumented migrants in this country. They've given those shops then about 3 days really to respond to that. Failure to do that, they're saying that they will come back. It's important, Koli, to know that the Operation Dudula was formed about 2 to 3 years ago, and this is a group of South Africans who are saying that they're very pro-South Africans, and they're about putting South Africa first, and they're saying that the problem of undocumented migrants in this country is the reason why many South Africans are unemployed, and they're saying that government has in fact failed to deal with the problem of undocumented migrants, and so that's why then they're taking matters into their own hands, moving into various shops here. But I think it's important, Koli, to note that Operation Dudula is now expanding, really. They've got branches almost everywhere here in Gauteng, and they're also, in fact, expanding into other parts of this country. I was talking to one of their leaders saying that they, in fact, are they will be traveling to the Eastern Cape. That's where also they're saying that they intend to form structures, because they're saying that South Africans are really tired of having to live with undocumented migrants who also contribute to the problem of crime, and they're saying that when the illegal migrants commit crime, authorities are unable then to trace them, and that causes a problem. Essentially, though, what we've seen today, it's really been them moving around and actually showing that they are present. And you could see, Koli, when we're moving around with them, some shops immediately closed for business, fearing that they could be vandalized by the people that were marching up and down Rosettenville. But I also think it is important to note that it was interesting listening to some of the leaders emphasizing to the people here that they must exercise maximum discipline at all times, because they don't want South Africans to perceive them as unruly and violent people. Koli?
Malungelo, you'll correct me if I'm wrong here. It would seem to me that the Operation Dudula has evolved somewhat. This demand started with undocumented South Africans needing to be kicked out of the country. Now it's evolving into them visiting and handing over memorandums to business operations. Number one, surely there has to be some kind of documentation that is followed with these memorandum for them to inspect businesses. But also, importantly, once business operators need to account to business, or should I say to the people who are leading this march, surely they have got to have some kind of assurance that they are opening up their books to people who are authorized to do this kind of thing. What are authorities saying, in particular the Labor Department, because those are the people that we know have the duty to inspect businesses as to whether or not they are following South Africa's laws?
Xoli, you're raising an important question. Unfortunately, I have not spoken to the Labour Department just as yet, but the reason why we are seeing, these members of Operation Dudula moving, around, going into these businesses, giving them memorandums, it's because they will tell you that authorities have essentially failed to do what they were meant to do. That's why we have decided to take matters into our own hands. Remember, Xoli, these businesses operate in communities where members of Operation Dudula are present. Members of Operation Dudula are almost everywhere now in Gauteng, and they'll tell you that we know what is happening in some of these stores or these shops, and we have been interacting with government officials about what is happening there, and nothing is being done. But I think it is also important, Xoli, to note that I think about a week or two ago, we then saw Minister Thulas Nxesi, that's the Labour and Employment Minister, starting then to go and conduct inspections in the hospitality sector, and that also came at the back of what we saw EFF leader Julius Malema also too going into in some of these restaurants. I think it was in Midrand, also inspecting and trying to see the number of South Africans that are employed in that sector, in the hospitality sector. So this then, Xoli, according to the people here, really talks to how government has been tardy in really dealing with the problem of undocumented migrants, and also, Xoli, how employers, this is what they're saying employers are taking advantage of these undocumented migrants because they're paying them, because they are cheap labor. So they're saying that because they don't want to employ South Africans, they then opt to employ people that they know they will exploit. And the people that you're seeing behind me, they're saying that enough is enough, because South Africa is currently facing unemployment crisis, and a lot of young South Africans want to be employed, and you can no longer say that South Africans are lazy, don't want to be employed, whereas when they go and look for jobs, they are told there's no jobs, whereas those jobs are actually occupied by people that are undocumented or are here in the country illegally.
Yeah, Malu, you've told us at least the reaction during today's march, that some shop owners took the easy step of basically shutting their doors. Have you been able to talk to any of those who were brave enough to remain open, and what is their response to these demands that are being made?
It's been interesting when, Xoli, we went to ShopRite Checkers, went to McDonald's, and also went to KFC here, and management or managers on site were really, they listened to what, to the memorandum that was being given to them. Obviously, they cannot promise anything, or they cannot make any decisions, because they are just, some of these people who are managers are employed themselves, so they need to take what's been presented to them to their senior bosses, who can then make those important decisions on whether really they will accede or they will meet the demands of the people that you are currently seeing behind us.
Thank you very much for that update live for us in the Johannesburg CBD, specifically in the Rosettenville area, and that's where this march has been concentrated.